been so happy to share. Actually, it's easy to present about a thing or about a product or a service or an idea or a report. It's really hard to talk about yourself, so thank you for doing that. And with no pressure, James, but over to you to do something really hard, which is to talk about your story. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Gary. Firstly, I just want to commend Annika. That was incredible. For somebody that had a biggest fear of public speaking, I felt that was pretty amazing. So obviously I wanted to introduce myself. I'm James Clark. I'm a senior account manager in London. I've been with Xero coming up 2 years. That's me in the photo, not the person sleeping behind me, which I just saw for the first time, one of the people in the foreground. And that's my partner, Ash. And I'm obviously a gay man, which is why I'm doing this talk. And, you know, if I look back a couple of years to even say that at a job is a massive thing for me that I never, for the majority of my adult life, thought that I would have been able to do. And so that's sort of a prefix as to, you know, I've unashamedly copied Annika's structure to this. Tell you a little bit about myself and a bit about my story, how that sort of has affected me professionally and my time at Xero, and then again finish off with what I believe to be the importance of pride and what pride really means to me as such. And so just actually listening to Annika then, I found it really interesting that in the LGBTQ community, you can have so many different stories and so many different ways of getting there. And Annika said that she knew when she was 12. I genuinely didn't really know I was gay until probably my early 20s, until I probably actually understood it. And being a New Zealander, I was in rugby environments. I didn't have any gay friends. My parents and my family certainly didn't know any gay people. In my early 20s, my older brother actually came out as gay whilst he was living in New York. And I suppose for me, I sort of thought, again, you know, Annika's points, who do you see on TV who's portrayed as gay? And it might be shows like Modern Family or Will and Grace or these ultra flamboyant, effeminate men. And I sort of thought, well, that's not me, so I must not be gay. Or the people that you see portrayed in society, often negatively, or really silly characters, or you know, overly effeminate men. And I remember thinking, that's not me. And again, if I compared myself to my brother, him and I were really different. So I sort of kept on sort of making these excuses or comparisons as to why I probably wasn't gay, because I like rugby, I have straight friends, I have girlfriends. That's not me. I'm not gay. Without actually understanding the fact that I was attracted to men, which is fundamentally probably a pretty big tick box in the gay conversation. So I guess it was in my early mid-20s. I was in a relationship with a girl, and just sort of got to the point where I sort of really knew within my heart of hearts that it wasn't right, and that I was probably lying to myself. I think New Zealand in particular has a really long way to come, but, you know, again, making comparisons to Annika, you do have these conversations with yourself, and I think so many friends of mine who are gay or have battled, you know, not being able to come out or be true to themselves, you have these conversations with yourself sort of thinking, I genuinely, for example, believed that I could not be commercially successful if I was gay, because that's not really who you see portrayed in society. I didn't think that I could get married and have kids, and I remember thinking that was a really important thing to my family and my parents. So I was more than willing to go, you know what, that little voice inside my head that no matter how loud it gets, I'll probably just end up marrying some girl from my college and have these 2 mediocre looking kids and get a mortgage and just go on with my life. And, you know, the sad reality is that that's what a lot of people end up doing. And then it took sort of a bit of a leap of faith, and sort of I told some of my really good friends that I'd actually started seeing a guy, and they supported me. And as it transpired, it really is what encouraged my move to London. Anyone that's been to New Zealand or is a New Zealander, I'm not sure if there's anyone on this call, know that it is a village, and you struggle to walk down the road without somebody bumping into somebody. And, you know, Judith, talk to your mother, who's talked to your grandmother, that no, I saw James holding hands with this guy, and I was petrified. I was genuinely petrified of somebody seeing me with another guy. And so that really encouraged my move to London. So fast forward, I guess, a couple of months, came to London, loved the anonymity of being able to be myself probably for the first time, started dating people, and then coincidentally met my now partner, Ash. We've been together now 2.5 years, almost 3 years, live with each other and very much in love. And we both came from really sort of conservative families. And I think that was almost a point of where we both almost commiserated with each other of having this similar journey. And so it was like massive point of growth and for me to actually become comfortable with yourself. And like, I'll come back to this point a little bit later on, but that's what pride is, mainly for me. It's being completely true to yourself and honest to yourself. And I think for such a huge amount of people in the LGBT community, you spend such a great deal of your life lying to yourself, flat out lying, telling yourself that you're somebody else in order to conform to society. So fast forward a few more months, I started at Xero and came all the way to London and then decided to work for a Kiwi company, because that's what we do apparently. And I said, this is the first job I'm going to do where I'm going to be open and honest and be honest about my sexuality. And so got toddled off to Milton Keynes, was up in the beautiful Jury's Inn, and was getting rid of my first day. I said, okay, all right, James, this is it. This is the day you're going to do it. And went into Xero and sort of saw the values and said, okay, this is okay. Surely this is the sort of environment where it's going to be safe. I think I had one of my first meetings with Ian Phillips. We were chatting away, asked if I had a girlfriend or if I was married, and I said, no, I've actually got a boyfriend, been together 5 months. Cool, oh, awesome. Anyway, toddle on. Oh, yeah, that was easy. And then on we went. A few nights later, I met the rest of the team and we had our quarterly kick-off and we went out for a couple of shandies, as the Xero sales team like to do. And then that night, again, a few more conversations with, like some Mark Turley and Dave Robertson and Tom and things like that, and asked him about a girlfriend. I said, no, I've got a boyfriend. Oh, yeah, good on you. And that was that. Anyway, the next morning I woke up and I felt sick with anxiety, thinking, what the hell have you done? Why did you say that last night? This is what they're going to think. They're going to think they're a good day. And this is a really common soundtrack for a lot of gay people, the self-loathing or self-homophobic and things like that. And I was terrified, almost didn't want to go into the office the next day out of fear of what had I done the night before. And went in and was absolutely fine. And, I think I've worked in a few different organisations, and especially being in sales over my career, there is a real lads club, a real boys club. And in that environment, you'll often see homophobic tendencies and, bender or puff or faggot or whatever these words get thrown around pretty loosely, especially after a few beers. And Xero, I can honestly say, is the first organisation I've worked in where there hasn't been that sort of structure. And I put that down to a few things. And why I think I feel so comfortable with it for the first time is that during my time at Xero, I've had really, really good bosses. Ian's brilliant. Joe, my current boss, has created environments where it's really comfortable for me to talk about Ash and I. And the second big part of it is the culture within my team and my colleagues. And if I think about, people like Diane Holden and Laura Buchanan and people like that, Clara, where they made it feel really comfortable for me to talk openly about my relationship. And that might seem like a really trivial thing to talk about your relationship with your husband, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend. But for somebody that for a great deal of their life has hidden that, has such a profound effect on me and has such a profound effect on my ability to feel comfortable in my job. And so I just came back from Spain, a week in Spain with Ash, and there wouldn't be any question about the ability to talk about my trip away with him, with my team, share photos, make them jealous, all that sort of stuff. And so it seems a little bit, if I look at it now, it seems a bit silly, but I know for a fact there will be people out there that will have hidden boyfriends, have hidden girlfriends, that will be going away on these trips away with them this summer, and it's too damn scary to tell your colleagues about it. And that's just a real reality of the LGBTQ community. And so I really commend Xero for stuff like this. This was sort of quite a scary thing for me to do. And, this is something that's obviously deeply personal to me. And Annika and I talked about it the other day, asking if it was too late for us to pull out. And it's a really quite challenging thing to talk about. But the fact that Xero is having these conversations, the fact that I feel really comfortable within my team, within my role, is really important. And I think I can assure you, businesses out there aren't doing that. And so that kind of leads me to the last part of my conversation, and that's, what does pride mean to me, and why do I see the importance of it? And I'm just going to take a drink of water, actually. Sorry. Build a bit of tension. I've been thinking a lot about this over the last few days, and pride, I think, has an importance in society. And, I came to the UK because New Zealand has a really long way to come when it comes to to gay culture and to the LGBTQ culture. It's often, people don't think that, but it's very true. And there's a section of society, I think, that, you know, you'll hear things like, oh, why is there not straight Pride Month? Why do we need gay Pride Month? You know, there's not a need for it, or this, that, and the other. And the reality of it being, and, you know, Annika referred to a couple of points there, not just around the world, homophobic attacks are up 200% in the last year. I live in a pretty nice part of London, or a pretty safe part of London. And in the past, walking down the road with Ash, holding hands, we've encouraged people throwing bottles, you know, slanderous comments. I have another really good friend of mine over in Putney, lives in Fulham and Kensington. You know, one of the wealthiest parts of London, was kissing her boyfriend on a bus and had a full can of beer hurled at the back of her head. This isn't in Russia. This isn't in, you know, tough parts of the city. These are in nice areas, and this exists. And I found it really appropriate, Tom Daley winning that wonderful gold medal this week. I don't know how diving works. I watched it. I have no idea how the point scoring works, but he won. Well done. If you believe that there's no homophobia in the UK, I'd encourage you to go onto any media post that mentioned his win this week and read some of the comments. I watched those three boys that won the Euro, or didn't win, lost the Euros finals, and the slanderous, bigoted, racial spew that came out against them. The one silver lining I took from it is that the next day, Prince William, Boris Johnson, notable members of society, actors, actresses came out and condemned these. Yet a 200-year-old real estate firm in Savills coming out saying the person that's making these comments and racist comments is going to start a full investigation. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have had that. You wouldn't have had the future king coming out and condemning racial comments online. Just wouldn't have happened. Now, brilliant. And, you know, good to see that sort of thing happen and getting it slowly stomped out of society. There hasn't been anyone come out and condemning the people that are making those comments about Tom Daley. And I think that's where it comes back and where pride is so important. And, you know, the vocalness and the importance of pride in the society is so important. But to me, it was sort of always a case of, you're not going to catch me going down Oxford Street with a rainbow flag and in hot pants. As much of a sight as I'm sure that is, it's just not really who I am. I think the best way that I can show pride is being in an honest, open, happy relationship with my gay partner. And when people ask me about my wife, my girlfriend, which for so many years I've hidden, be honest and open about it. I think undoubtedly there will be people that you know, out of the 79 people on this call, there will be people in your network, friends, family, colleagues, nieces, nephews, that will be going through some of the challenges that Annika and I have spoken about today. And I guess if you could have one takeaway from this call, one takeaway from Annika and I, and what you can do, and I can see a few questions that come forward, what can we do, what can we do? Create an open, honest and understanding space for those people. Because that, I believe, is the true meaning of pride. Awareness, understanding, and a complicit acknowledgement of the LGBT community and normalising it. And I guess that's sort of what I'd finish it on. The profound impact that other Xeros had on me when they normalised my relationship had much more of an effect on me than you'll ever know. Thank you.
Thank you, James. That was very powerful, personal story. And I'm grateful for it. I know